For a while we've had a problem with our dog eating our cat's food. We remedied that by putting the cat feeder in this Instacrate. And our dog's lost a lot of weight, but it doesn't look great in the kitchen. So I sketched up some plans to make a wooden crate out of 2x4s. This will be made out of about 1.5 2x4s, only about $5 worth of material. First step is to cut the 2x4s to length. The long side of my crate's about 20 inches, and I think I needed about 4 boards at that length. The short dimension is about 13.5 inches, and I needed 2 boards that length. Next step is to take the round corners off of the 2x4s. Just take them over to the table saw off the edges. This gives you a nice square edge to work with. Next step was to cut 6 pieces 1.5 inches square. These will be the supports. They'll be at the corners of the crate and along the bottom rail so that the slats have something to hold on to. And after that, it's a lot of slicing. I chose to make my slats about 1/4 inch wide, and you just slice the 2x4 until you can't slice it anymore. You get about 7 slices per 2x4. For safety, you really have to have some push sticks that are secure on the 2x4 as you push it through. I finally end up with a sacrificial push stick that you see in my right hand there that goes all the way through the blade, so I get solid contact the entire time. Once I've cut all the slats, I gave them all a quick sanding. After some trial and error, I found out the fastest way to do this is to lay them out in groups of 4 and just sand it like it's one big surface. Things went pretty quickly once I figured that out. And after all that sanding, we give them a quick layer of teak oil. Very similar to the sanding here, I lay them out in groups of 4 and then just rub the oil over like it's one big surface. I also take them in packs of 4 and finish the edges in the same way. All this only took about half an hour. In fact, this entire crate took maybe 2 hours total, start to finish. I did it all in one afternoon and evening, so the finish wasn't even quite dry when I started assembling. Assembly's pretty straightforward. You see here I'm making a U shape with the square boards, and then I start connecting the slats. A key here is to connect the bottom slat and the top slat with just a brad each, and then make sure it's square before you really lock it in. One side of the crate only has a bottom and a top slat because, as you'll see, that's where the cats come and go inside the crate. For a more standard crate, you'd want to put slats up and down the entire edge. I worked out the math before I started, but these slats are 1.5 inches tall since they're sliced from a 2x4. And I built the height of the crate such that I could use MDF as 1/4 inch spacers, and it would be exactly 7 slats high. Now you could do larger gaps if you wanted the crate to be more see-through, but this is really kind of a privacy fence for the cats, so kept the slots kind of small. Once the 2 edges are finished, it's pretty simple. You put them up on their edge and do the same thing for the side. Just glue brads and spacers. And for the bottom of the crate, you could do a similar thing and have spacers in between each of the slats. I had enough wood left over from slicing up the 2x4s that I could make a solid bottom, so I just lined them up right next to each other. Did the same technique. That's pretty straightforward. Once you've attached all of this with brads and you let the finish dry and let the glue dry, that's it, you got yourself a crate. So in one day we've gone from a 2x4, this took about a 2x4.5 for this larger crate. You could certainly build a smaller crate with a single 2x4. I've done this a couple of times and it's a a handy trick to use for custom sized crates. And here it is in the kitchen. That's it. Hope you enjoyed.